Hello and welcome back to Copenhagen Fashion Week and our series Small Talks, Big Conversations. My name is Johan Wirfält and my day job is at Stadsteatern in Stockholm, where I'm a cultural director. But this week I'm hosting a series of conversations on tech to nurture change here at A House, which is also in Stockholm. So we're streaming live from Sweden here at Copenhagen Fashion Week. As we all know, there's an increasing need and also a demand from consumers on fashion to become more sustainable. Sustainable fashion is a trend in itself, you could say, with most fashion brands today understanding at least the need to communicate an awareness on the impact of fashion when it comes to ecological and social issues. But how do you turn this into something more than words? Joining me today to discuss this is Karin Rodebjer. Hello, welcome.
Hello, thank you.
Karin is one of Sweden's most respected and celebrated fashion designers. She founded her eponymous label Rodebjer 20 years ago, not so much with a business plan, but with a philosophy rooted in feminist and environmental values. And in this talk, we will explore what being sustainable in fashion actually means. So Karin, to set things off, tell us a little bit about Rodebjer and how these ideas about feminism and environmentalism has manifested themselves in your label.
I think when I started 20 years ago, it was such a different mindset and a different time, definitely. We didn't have social media and it wasn't as global as it is today. I always had a dream about doing my line and thinking about feminism and also being more environmentally friendly. It was actually very hard in the beginning because at that time you couldn't find any fabric that was sustainable or ecological or organic that looked good. Now it has changed a lot, so which I'm very happy about. A lot of fabric suppliers are really working hard on finding good new solutions. But of course it is a challenge because fashion in itself, it's about being renewable every season. So I think we can't say that it's a fully sustainable business, but we can do our very best.
And this Copenhagen Fashion Week, you're presenting digitally, which I guess in a way at least is more sustainable because you don't actually need to travel all the way to Copenhagen.
I know, I actually love, in one way I love that these restrictions has been set upon us, even though I would have wished it would have come in a different way, of course. But I think what I felt, I lived in New York for a long time, and what I felt was that people travel so much within the fashion industry, and all the fashion editors I talked to were so tired of traveling, and I just felt like we can't travel like this every season. So in a way I feel, even though I really love Copenhagen and Copenhagen Fashion Week and I love to be there as well, I still feel that this digital way is actually working quite well, and it's going to make that it's going to be less traveling for sure.
So do you think,
for many reasons.
So do you think that this is something then, I mean, once the travel restrictions sort of get lighter and start, do you think that we will still stay with this, that this is something that people are sort of understanding, that we can actually do things another way, differently than before?
I hope we will, and I think we will, of course, because we have noticed that it actually works. So I hope we learn, and I hope the evolution is changing into a better direction. I mean, due to this that we're going through.
And if we take the bigger picture and taking into account that the world looks very different now than when you founded your brand in the year 2000, how do you see that all the digital and technological development that has happened since then has affected you as a fashion brand, but also the industry as a whole?
I mean, it's such a big difference, of course. And for us, it was challenging because we started out without internet, actually, pretty much. And then it came, the whole social media came and the e-com came. So it was hard in the beginning to be able to, go along and to learn as fast as we needed to learn. But we have learned how to do it now. And I think it has, put a lot of pressure on the industry, all this. And we have to learn so much, and it's going so fast. And all the things with the pre-collection added on the main collection. It was so much going on for a long time for the industry. And we actually, before the corona came, we had decided to cut down on collections. So already we changed from 4 collections to 2 to make it a bit more sustainable as well. And then the whole tech and the digital is of course a challenge, but we're learning and it's fun as well.
And do you think, just since you mentioned the sort of seasonal collection cycle, do you think that there is something that will also start to wither more and more, that collections are they sort of becoming less necessary, if you understand what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that's a bit how I worked from the very beginning, and that's also part of the brand, that I wanted to do, seasonal things, but I still wanted them to be timeless. And the good thing, what I've noticed now, is that we have really good second-hand sales. Rodebjer is doing really well on when they have when it has a second life. So sometimes we actually sell some styles for a higher price the second time around, which is amazing. Then it's also adds some more kind of sustainability to it, that it has a long life.
And do you do, I mean, I noticed some more and more labels are starting to do like in-store second-hand, that you can sort of come and return your old clothes, or you get a commission. Do you do that? Or
no, we don't do that yet. That would be a dream, of course. But I actually went to a second-hand store the other day, and they said that they're selling Rodebjer so well. So that's amazing.
So maybe for next year.
Yeah, maybe for next year. We'll see when we're through all this.
Yeah, but as I mentioned earlier, so sustainable fashion has been, I mean, obviously a buzzword for at least a decade within the fashion industry. And some people would probably argue that sustainable fashion is a contradiction in terms, that fashion is based on consumers buying into new trends, which means that fashion by nature is not sustainable. What would be your response to that?
Unfortunately, that is true. It isn't sustainable. And if you really want to do something good, you shouldn't produce at all. So that's, I mean, unfortunately, that's how it is. I think, but still people need beauty, and I think that's good in one way, and that's a constructive feeling, to find beauty or dress up, or to find your true potential through clothing. And for me, clothing has always been like, it has a liberating power, and that's something good in itself. And if we can do it as sustainable as possible, I think it's still a positive thing you can contribute with, even though, but if you want to be strict sustainable, you shouldn't produce at all.
But so in your opinion then, what are the most important steps for brands or companies, just if they actually look into turn sustainability into something which is more than just a word or buzzword?
I think you have to be quite tough on your company. We have this season actually focused a lot on measuring our sustainability work, to try to, change all the fabric into organic or recycled. And it's a challenge, and it's hard, and you have to work really focused to be able to reach your goals. And I think what you can do is you have to do as well as you can. You can't, reach the goal at once, but you have to take one step at a time.
And I mean, earlier in these conversations we have been having this week, we have been discussing exactly what you're talking about, which is like the closed circle of fashion. They can actually, it is now possible to sort of reach the concept of circular fashion for real, because you can recycle clothes and use the fibers to produce new material, which then produces new fabrics and so on. Is that something you're starting to move more into now? Or?
Oh, definitely. Now we work with suppliers who can do it for us. So you work with talent who know how to do it. for a long time, maybe I think it was 2010, I did a collection with recycled fabric. I found this fabric supplier in Paris who cut old fabric and sew it together, and then we made garments out of it. But they went bankrupt because it was too early, I suppose. Yeah. And those kind of things are really expensive, and it takes a lot of time. So you have to find ways to work with it somehow. But the full circular, that's a dream, of course. Even though we don't have the exact expertise in-house, but we work with people externally who has.
And so then if we're looking forward, what are the most pressing issues for the fashion industry in your opinion?
I think maybe, the intense traveling is a pressure for the environment. The amount of products, the stress, it's a lot of challenging ahead that we have to think about and to try to solve.
And from, if you're looking at all those examples, what do you think is the sort of the most important thing you can do as a businesswoman and as a head of a fashion company? Is it just cut down on it all, or is it?
No, you have to find ways to solve it somehow. So I think like finding maybe less producing abroad, too far away, or better fabric choices. Less producing.
Less is more.
Less is more.
So then, because obviously in Sweden you're a very well established and respected designer, but on a global scale, Rodebjer is still a small brand.
Yeah.
So do you think it's possible for your brand or other small brands to have a voice and to make a difference on a global scale as well? Leading through example or something?
Yeah, but I'm sure, everyone has a possibility to influence, especially today with Instagram and the platforms we have. So I'm sure everyone who wants can influence in the best possible way.
Okay, but thank you so much for joining us today, Karin.
Thank you.
Also thank you to everyone out there watching. More digital presentations and more small talks and big conversations are available on CopenhagenFashionWeek.com. So please tune in there. Thank you.